what I didn't tell in all of this journey is like, I'm not afraid to learn, and I'm not afraid to accept that I don't know. When I'm talking to a finance person, when I'm talking to an engineer, at that time also I'm learning because I don't know everything. So I always give this disclaimer that I'm coming up with this challenge or we are discussing this in a meeting. If I state something incorrectly, please correct me. There should be no ego.
Welcome back to From a Woman to a Leader podcast. My name is Limor Bergman Gross, and today I'm sitting down with Bindu Sharma. Bindu is a senior director of cloud financial operations at Teradata, who built a career across Netscape, FireEye, Guidewire, and now Teradata, with a 3-year career break in the middle when her second child was a baby. In our conversation today, we get into why saying I don't know is actually a leadership move, not a weakness. How to pivot across completely different domains without losing momentum. What it actually takes to come back after years at home with your kids. And how to go after the next role when no one is tapping you on the shoulder. If you ever felt like you have to know everything before you can lead, if you've ever held yourself back because you weren't sure you're ready, or if you ever wondered whether stepping back from your career would mean stepping out of it, this episode is for you. So are you ready? Let's dive right in. Hi, Bindu, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Very happy and good day to talk to you, Limor.
I want to start maybe taking you a few years backwards and talk about your journey. So you mentioned to me when we talked that you did a master's degree in physics. And then, only then you moved into computers. So can you share a little bit about that and how that pivot happened?
Yeah, so the master's in physics, actually, my degree is from India. And there, it is not very uncommon to go and do your master's. And that's the path I pursued. And in my high school, we had a wonderful physics teacher. She was so good in explaining things that it just happened organically, my understanding and love for physics subject. And that's what I pursued and completed my master's. And then I came to USA. And by that time, in general, the technology pivot has already happened where the computers, in those days, the Fortran, Pascal, and basic language started to come up. People are starting to, use computers and also started to learn computers a lot. So that's when I thought, okay, let me go and do a couple of courses just to understand the computers. So I went and took the summer classes in our community college in USA, and I liked it. I learned it well. I liked it. So I thought, okay, let me see if I can get a degree. And that's how it started. I got a degree in master's in software engineering from our university, local university.
Wow, impressive. So after a master in physics, you went to undergrad and a graduate degree in computer science. And also you mentioned to me that you actually worked in quality assurance and then moved to cloud.
Yeah.
Can you share how that happened?
Yeah, there were many stops on the way. But
Uh-huh.
yes, after I finished my master's degree, from the college recruiting, right? They have college recruitment. I was just offered the job to lead the quality assurance for the organization. And I don't know how many people would remember now. It's only Google and Edge. But in those days, it used to call Netscape browser.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I tested the download manager and the mail applications of that browser. So I was in quality assurance for a good time. And after that, since leading the team, leading projects, working, collaborating, it just I could see myself that I am good at organizing tasks and leading the projects. So then I went and I finished the program management certification,
Mm-hmm.
just to do it. If there are, there are always more things to learn when you go through the proper education cycle, right? So I completed that, and I started then becoming more of a program manager and a portfolio manager. And I was already aware of software development life cycle, anything around software. And then pivot happened, and I joined a hardware compliance industry where all the hardwares that are built, they have to go through safety and regulatory compliance checks. And I was managing programs for very large organizations who ship these huge servers that go into the data centers. And I was responsible for the safety and hardware compliance programs. And each country has its own regulations that you need to abide by. And I was like, okay, learning that, running those programs and such. And in there, the cloud happened in our company, in this company
Yeah.
that I was working for at that time. And the senior vice president of that company, we had an all hands, and he announced that, we are going into cloud, and our data centers, we will support cloud also, right, going forward. And he said, but the problem is, we do not know who is buying cloud internally, who is spending money. That was the biggest challenge, right? Anybody and everybody can deploy in the cloud, start using it, and the company has to bear the cost.
Mm-hmm.
There is no accountability, no visibility. I was in operations, and it was like, oh my God, how do we get the handle on this beast? And then he actually personally approached to me, and he said, Bindu, you have software experience, you manage projects, you have hardware experience, you cover all the areas. Can you help us with this issue at that time in the company? That's how I stumbled into cloud. The first thing that I did, and that I've always done growing up, is to learn. So I went,
Yes.
took courses to understand what is cloud. And now I'm in the cloud world.
And I think, I think, Bindu, it didn't happen by coincidence. There are several things here that I wanted to share with our audience here that resonated with me from what you said. First of all, you are a lifelong learner. You are learning all the time. And I think this applies, Bindu, it applies today even more than it applied in the past. Things are changing in a pace that is crazy. And we have to keep learning all the time. We cannot stop learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is for our own growth. It is to stay on top of things. When I say things, more like, okay, around technology. And also, I would say in personal life, anywhere you go, right? Everything is on mobile, everything is on your phone. And if I'm talking to my kids, I know I cannot be at their level. They have different language, completely different language. But at least you should be able to communicate with them, right? If they are using some app, saying something about it, you should understand. You might not use it, but at least you're understanding it. So both at personal and professional level, learning is the essential thing. Never stop learning.
Never stop learning. And I also learned from you, from your journey, you're not afraid of changes. You made a lot of changes, right? You moved from India to the US. You decided after you had a master in physics to pursue computer science degrees. You started with quality and then moved to project management and then moved to cloud. So you keep changing, which is wonderful. I think it's exciting and wonderful, and you're not afraid of it.
Correct, correct. I mean, what helps is, everyone is scared, right, when the change comes along. How kind of mentally you strategize it. And I think my first strategy is always to learn, to get to know what I'm getting into, right?
Yeah.
And and I would also tell you, Limor, one thing, what I didn't tell in all of this journey is like, I'm not afraid to learn, and I'm not afraid to accept that I don't know. When I'm talking to a finance person, when I'm talking to an engineer, at that time also I'm learning because I don't know everything. So I always give this disclaimer that I'm coming up with this challenge or we are discussing this in a meeting. If I state something incorrectly, please correct me. There should be no ego. Doesn't matter.
Definitely.
Yeah, that role is on the paper. It's on your signature. But other than that, you're always a peer with anybody or everybody in the team, in an organization. And even there also, it's not that you always learn from books. You go to the university, you take a course and you learn. It gives you the step in. It gives you the maybe some correct words to use, but you learn on the field so much that you cannot learn anywhere else. And for that, I always like stay on the humble side of human. We're always learning that, and then saying that if I say something incorrectly or going into the meetings, or even sometimes, there are ways that you're just going in to listen into the meeting to understand. It's not that you're always contributing. So there are different ways to learn, and that helps you not to be afraid of change.
Absolutely. And I think it takes, to be honest, Bindu, it takes courage to admit especially when you grow into like your level, to a director, senior director, say, I don't know something and I don't have all the answers, because people feel like, oh, I got to this level, I should be the know it all person. What happens if I admit I don't know something? Is it positioning me someone who is maybe not fit for this role? Right? So it takes a certain level of courage to admit that you don't know something. I think it's actually a great strength to do that, and also positions you as someone, as you said, it's humble, approachable. Even I would say it builds trust because people say, yeah, she's not afraid to say she doesn't know something.
Correct. I mean, it's on the other side, right? Like the junior members of the team, they are learning that it's okay to not know and go into the meeting and
Yeah,
ask questions. So
for
it,
sure.
yeah, exactly. And then I think also I have seen many times that it also opens up the table for discussion, because when they know that I'm at the same level and we are trying to solve a problem, we are not trying to step over each other by our ideas, by our knowledge. No, we want to solve this specific problem. Everyone bring in their ideas.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of creates an atmosphere of trust and collaboration, and I don't see any other way to work, to be honest, because like no one person knows everything. It's
Yes.
a collaborative effort. Everyone brings something unique.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And some are introvert, some are extrovert, right? So there are
Yeah,
so many personalities. So I think just being human, stay human in in whatever role you are is the most essential thing. Doesn't matter as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, as a senior leader, being human is the most essential.
for sure, for sure. And you mentioned motherhood, and I know that you have two children. And you talked about taking 3 years break in your career. And I wanted to touch on that because I also think this is a very, very bold move to take a break. I was never bold enough to do that. Tell us a little bit about it, about that decision and how you kind of faced it and how you got back.
Decision was made easily because after the first kid, um, I was still working and all. And it was difficult leaving them for good 8 to 9 hours and then coming back. But I was like, oh yeah, I think I agreed to that part of my life, right? When we decided to have kids. And then the second kid happened. I'm like, No, there should be some other way. And then I was like, okay, I just decided at that time my daughter was, I think she was 8 months. Yeah. And then I just quit in the New Year's. Like, I said, okay, that year will be the year she was born. Like, okay, that's it. And then I remember the 3rd of the January when I handed my resignation that, okay, I want to take time off and spend some time with kids. And that's it. We just made a decision and I did that. I enjoyed my time with my kids, doing all the mommy things and doing nothing else, not thinking about work, not thinking about quality assurance, project management, nothing. And then when they were like, okay, going to full-time school, I had good 7, 8 hours where I go, okay, now I think I can go and join the workforce back. That time it was a little difficult because you are coming back and then things change so rapidly, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're still in your resume showing quality assurance and project management, all your things that you have done in the past and such, so at that time, just I thought, let me go into more into consultation job. That's where I went as with the project management experience. And there also, I stayed very honest that I remember I told you I then went into the hardware compliance and that area of my career. I said, I can manage your programs very well, but I do not know how it works, and I will learn along the way. So that's how I started. And I got step into the workforce again. I managed the hardware projects. I learned along the way very quickly. And if when you have a background of certain fields, you already have the knowledge to grasp other areas. You know how to grasp them. It's only to understand the new subjects. So that's how I came back in. And since then, it has been a good journey. And then the cloud happened. And so I've been blessed and I've been on that path.
Wow, that's fantastic. And yeah, you kind of emphasize, even though you took 3 years off, and yeah, you were maybe a little bit outdated in like the things that you knew, like you still have the skills to learn. You know how to learn, right? You learn so much. You
Yes.
learn all the time. So once you have the ability, the willingness, and the ability, and you know how to learn new things, you're not afraid to learn, then yeah, I'll just, it's not that I lost everything. I just, yeah, there is a gap and I need to fill that gap. So I'm just learning new things.
And also, Limor, actually, I should mention this for our audience that what one thing that I've learned from that part of my learning experience is I always give chance to these kind of, the resume that I see on my hands. I don't want to, I want to see their capabilities, but I
Definitely.
also want to see their willingness to learn, like kind of their personality, right? What is their personality in terms of growth? Because even if right now, like we are in cloud, and now the AI thing has happened, so everyone in the company has to learn.
Of course.
So things like that, if somebody joins my team and I also see that kind of attitude in them. It's not just, do you know everything by the book?
Yeah, I think, and you know, Bindu, I think even before the AI era, I think it's not just about what you know, it's about your ability to learn
Exactly.
and your attitude. So if you're able to learn, evolve all the time, right? And you have the passion to learn
Hmm.
and you are motivated and you want to grow.
Yes.
Those are the things that are important. Of course, you need to have the skills, you need to have like good foundation, but
Yes.
you don't have to know everything. What would be your message to women who are considering whether to take a career break for kids? What would you say to them?
I think the most important thing in life, right, is the happiness and content. You don't want to not want to take that break for some reason and then later regret in life, right? So to happy, because when you're happy, when you're content, You will make good decisions. You have energy to accept the change, and you will be a good human personally to your family. And when you go back, you are all again content. What you did was right. You know the struggle will come later when you join the workforce. And if you join the workforce, what if you just want to take a break? You're done. You just want to spend all your time doing something else. But you will be content that you made the right decision. That is the
Yeah.
most important thing as a human, because in the end, you want to make sure that you are happy and content, and everybody around you is happy and content.
I think this is a very strong message, Bindu. I mean, you have to feel like you're doing the right thing. And we have instincts, right? We have to
Yeah.
trust. We have to trust ourselves, right? That we know what is the right thing for us, what we need to do. And you're saying, yeah, if you know that that's what is important to you right now, that you want to take a break to be at home with the kids, then just do it
Yes.
and be happy
Yes.
and be, be true to what you need.
Yeah, exactly. You are with the most precious things. You will be spending time with the most precious things in your life, right? Your kids.
Yeah.
There's nothing precious than that. No money, no career role, nothing.
Yeah, one of the things when I look back that I regret a little bit is that when the kids were very little, I was working very, very hard. And I wish I don't know if I wanted a break, but more about maybe slow down a little bit. Because I was always so kind of wanted to progress in my career. I was so ambitious that I made sacrifices. And I wish I considered
But
maybe slowing down a little bit.
I'm not preaching in any way that take a break,
Yeah, of
essential
course.
or nothing. Because the kids, they look at everything. Your example, they saw hard working mom.
Yeah,
So you did instill some other value in them.
of course, I know.
Yeah, exactly. So it is, in the end, it's what sometimes it doesn't work for you, right? To take a break for any reason. So in the end, just be happy and content with your decision. But when the opportunity comes, right, to make a change, I think that is also one of the essential thing in your, let's say, in your career. Coming back to the career discussion, be open for a change and be able to grasp the opportunity and run with it, right? Because never think that let me first learn and then I'll take that. No, just run with it, learn along the way. You won't imagine people will help you that you didn't even think will be so supportive.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You will never be ready, right? If you say, I'll just do that, you will never be ready, and then you'll just be stagnated and not grow. So definitely learning, we learn all the time, right?
Yes.
We
Yeah.
evolve from day to day.
Yeah,
And I want to
exactly.
make sure we just have enough time just
Mm.
to touch on your progression and your tips for women who want to progress like you to a senior manager role. What would be your recommendation to them? What are the things they should be doing?
I think we already talked about the learning. Never stop learning,
Yeah,
no matter where you are. Then just now, we briefly talked about the opportunity, because that's how the opportunity came to me. My manager was leaving for personal reason, and he approached me first that he wants to promote my name to the leadership to take over his role.
yeah,
And that comes because you are going to work, are showing up to work, you are showing the progress, and you're showing the willingness with an attempt to show that I'm learning always, and also some managerial skills on the side. right? Make sure if you want to go to that path, right? The leadership path, the managerial path, then make sure you also have some acumen towards that characteristic that a manager needs. And that's how I got my opportunity. And since then, it has been again, when you get up to that pedestal, just rinse and repeat. Same thing. Same thing. Like it never changes. Even today, I'm at this role. I'm nothing doing anything different that I was doing in there. The thing is the difference in the like workings. Now I'm doing more strategy, more insights into how roadmaps and things like that, building models. But same thing, like working, showing that okay, I'm still a learner, bringing in your full into what you're doing and then how you can improve both for an organization, for what you're working on, what you can improve on that, as well as yourself. And just keep doing what you're doing with certain mindset, and hopefully don't say no to the opportunity and like, oh, I'm not ready. No one is ready.
Yeah, saying yes to opportunities, definitely be open-minded. I think, the mindset is so powerful. When we
Mm.
are open to
Yeah.
opportunities, they come.
And also, I would say, I would now want to briefly talk about the flip side of it. I
Mm-hmm.
got the opportunity, but there are some people where the opportunity did not do not happen. So in that case, go and talk to your manager and tell them that you are inclined in this path. Tell me what to do and go with certain ideas. And I can give you certain ideas here where ask them, please, can you or I can find out myself a mentor for me who can
Yes,
help me to go to that level. Can I go and do shadow program with someone? And just to show you, this is, I'm saying, talking to your manager, just to show you that I have this in me and I'm ready to learn if there are something lacking to get to that role. So go and show that inclination. And that's when the opportunity comes, they will remember that she came to me, she showed her willingness, she did the mentorship shadowing program. Let us give her a chance. So
definitely.
both ways I'm trying to explain.
I think that it's very important to be open about your aspirations with your managers and with others, and be willing to do the extra mile, right? To, as you said, like shadow, look for a mentor, taking the extra mile, extra effort to, expand your skill set so you will
Yeah.
be considered. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And then, 100% sure that organizations have tuition reimbursement program. Just say, I'm going to take a management course, get it reimbursed. So, it's not coming out
Yeah.
of your pocket. But showing the willingness, if you don't have mentorship, if you don't have shadow program, do some course and put it in your, yearly performance review that out of
Yeah.
willingness, I did this and I'm ready for it. So there are many ways. There are these at least ways that I think I can recommend.
Definitely. Wow. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Bindu. And before you end today, how can women find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Bindu Sharma, and
Perfect.
I think LinkedIn messages that works
Perfect.
perfectly well. And please connect and ask me any question.
Fantastic. I will put your LinkedIn URL on the show notes. Thank you so much, Bindu.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope it was valuable for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting platform and share it with any woman who needs to hear it. And I'll see you next week.